on all my shows. Behave yourselves. I want you to listen to the opening. Jordan's going to feed it to us in a second. Getting my live stream up here on LinkedIn. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. We're on. All right. Everybody wave hello to LinkedIn. Wave hello to Facebook. Wave hello to YouTube. Wave hello to Voice America Variety. They can see us in their minds. They heard you. Okay, Jordan.
All right, Bonnie, ready to rock and roll?
We are. Thank you.
All right. Have a fantastic show. Here we go.
Thank you.
The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Variety Channel. For more information about our network,
listen to the opening, ladies, very carefully,
and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericavariety.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Next at the Mic Radio, a lively hour of unscripted roundtable conversations with Voice America's longtime, new and upcoming hosts about their inspirations, goals, and insights to help you find your own mic. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's Bonnie D.
Thank you to the voice who is nameless. Let's find out from my guests who haven't been introduced yet. Was that a real human or was that an AI voice? Kathryn Zox, what do you think?
An AI voice.
Okay, Jane Velez-Mitchell, AI or human?
I think we're all expected to say AI, so I'm going to go with human.
Thank you very much. Kirsten Johansen, what do you think?
I think it might be AI.
Okay, that voice was put together, studied, and cued and done all kinds of massage by Robert Ciolino, who's the general manager of Voice America, and he worked on it for months, and I approved it. We haven't named the voice, so maybe at the end of the show, we'll give it a name. It is AI. It's an AI voice, and it had to just say, the kicker was it had to say, how those lips can talk. When it got that right, then I knew, because that's another voiceover on one of my other radio shows. So I'm Bonnie D. Welcome very much to Next at the Mic. This is a special show I created a few months ago to spotlight the very special people who take their time, put their energy and their minds to creating radio here on Voice America. I don't put together people with the same topic and the same level of experience. We have a relative newbie. We've got a couple of veterans here. And I've been on Voice America since 2011. I've got 55 radio series. Oh, no, do you really? Yes, I do. So I love talking to smart people, and you're my smart people today. So ladies, before I do anything, I want to read a little poem that I co-versed. I like that word, Jane. I made that up. You can help me with that, okay? I co-versed this poem with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is the AI, and I'm the human. Kathryn, can I still be the human? Is that okay?
That's okay.
Okay, good. I need your approval. Okay, so when I call your voice, I want you to wave or smile or do something, and I'm going to go through it. Then you'll do your own bio. So here we go. Welcome to Next at the Mic, a platform unique where Voice America hosts your interest will pique. Host Bonnie D with passion to wow welcomes 3 stars on Talk to Me Now. That's the episode title today. Kathryn Zox, wave hello. A voice with depth and might. Your social worker with a microphone shining bright. With degrees and accolades in her repertoire, a mission and a mic, her guiding star. Kathryn, I hope you enjoyed that. Yes?
I did enjoy it. That was great.
Good. Okay. Jane Velez-Mitchell, wave hello. An award-winning scribe. With UnchainedTV, she lets compassion thrive. A journalist and author, animal rights and vegan soul. Her stories unfold, an inspiring scroll. What do you think, Jane?
I love it. I love it.
Okay. And Kirsten Johansen, resilient and strong, a mentor and guide teaching right from wrong. In human-centered wellness, her wisdom flows, hosts GTO Freedom for Humans. She'll tell us about that, where inspiration grows. Kirsten, I hope you will like that one.
Thank you, Bonnie. Awesome.
You're welcome. So let me finish this poem. Listen, watch, add delight to your day as Bonnie D's Scarlet Mic leads the way. Next at the mic, where voices soar, a symphony of inspiration. Hear radio's wisdom roar. So ladies, do we get a thumbs up for the opening? What do you think? Thumbs up? Kathryn? Oh, we got 2 from Kathryn. Okay, good. I've been doing this for all my shows. I have a Technology Revolution show. I have Creativity show, Read My Lips. And I do a show for my client, Rising Evolution, the Future-Proofed Enterprise. And on all of those shows, I use a verse from ChatGPT and me. And they're getting very popular. I'd like to think that's one of the hallmarks of the show. So ladies, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's go through and get some opening bios from each of you. I'd love to hear who you are. We don't want just what your radio show is. Of course, we want to know, but your origin story. How did you start on radio? Kathryn Zox, I'm putting you on speaker view. Tell us who you are and welcome.
Well, I'm Kathryn Zox, your social worker with a microphone. And I think I began radio. I started talking when I was 5. I was in shows and acting. And you know what? Everyone always told me that I talked too much. I would sit at the dinner table. I was the troublemaker. I was the one that, started talking about topics no one wanted to talk about. The Vietnam, I'm not getting into politics, but the Vietnam War and premarital sex and all those issues, which was kind of a prelude to becoming a social worker as well. But anyway, I kept talking. Don't tell Kathryn anything because she'll tell her 5 best friends. But I continued to talk. And I ended up in high school and in boarding school. I was on the debating team. I ended up being captain of the debating team. I ended up being in a lot of plays, which I did when I got to college. I did the same thing. So I was always talking. I was always in shows. I was always, I got a degree in social work, and I did social work, hands-on social work, actually, at a huge rehab hospital in New Jersey for 10 to 12 years, and dealt with all kinds of social work issues. And social workers deal with all kinds of personal issues. And I worked with people with disabilities, addiction, drugs, marriage, you name it, and I did it. And always liked connecting with people and wanting to hear their stories. And so that was sort of the beginning, maybe, as my career evolved. At age 50, I decided, and I was doing shows. I was doing dinner theater shows, and I was doing commercials for Time Warner Cable. They were regional commercials. I was doing voiceovers like PSAs for free. I would always use my voice and my social work skills. I combined the two, and that's how I became very passionate about doing radio. I did, and I think that's in my bio that I sent to you, Bonnie. I used to do recordings for the blind and dyslexic. I was coming back from a show that I had done, and I was with a fellow actor. And he said to me, Kathryn, he said, you have a really good voice. He said, there is a public radio station that reads the newspaper to people who are print disabled. And that's what I do. And it's a 2-hour program. You do it for free. And you and I would be on the program together. So that was the first time I'd actually been on radio. And that first show, when I did it, I said, oh my God, this is great. I mean, this is what I want to do. I love it. And so that was kind of the beginning of me wanting to get into radio seriously. So then anyway, I went back to school. I was in Albany, New York. I go back and forth from Albany, New York to New York City now. And in Albany, there was a program for a certificate program for radio. And it was, so I joined that program. There were like 5 of us in the program, got my certificate, went in the basement of my house and decided I'm going to do a radio show. And I sent out a CD, and I got accepted at the smallest radio station in Albany. And I was on like 5 days a week. I actually used to drive my guests from Albany to the radio station because I was driving them around, making sure that they got there. You're talking about being on time. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that they got to, I was terrified. But anyway, I graduated and I did, several little radio stations. And then when they called me about Voice America, and I thought, I think this is kind of the wave of the future, because then you can, you have access to the world, right? It's a whole global thing. And one thing about radio is that it's not, I feel that, I interview people from a social worker's perspective, and I am not, it's easy I think I do a pretty good job of being able to address the tough questions, because the kinds of questions, the mental health kinds of questions, which I hear is a trend actually for radio and podcasters in the future, mental health. And so I sort of have that, I think, unique quality to be able to do that. But I've interviewed thousands and thousands of guests, and it's actually been it's also been a personal journey, not just me interviewing the experts or me getting people to tell their stories, but it's helped me grow as a person. I'm a better mother. I'm a better grandmother. I'm a better person. I'm a better neighbor because I have all these experiences. I think to myself, how many meetings would I have had to go on to, or cocktail parties, to talk to thousands and thousands of people? That kind of an opportunity, and it changed me. It's transformative. I think it's also been transactional. That's not such a popular word, but that's okay. I grew, and I hope my audience grew, and the people that I'm interviewing grow. I think one of the most complimentary things that I get when I do a show and someone says to me, no one's ever asked me that question before. And I'm like, oh, wow, that really makes me feel good, because they're thinking about something in a very different way that they hadn't thought about it before. And so am I. So it's this kind of like, this is another piece to radio. I think that's
Kathryn, I tell you what, I want you to save that other piece to radio when we get into the roundtable for the discussion,
right,
because I know you have so much to share, and I want to make sure we do that in the roundtable.
I can't stop talking.
I have to compliment you, Kathryn. That was one of the most interesting origin stories I have ever had from a guest on all of my shows. I really appreciated it very, very much. You just gave us the whole ball of wax, as they say. Thank you. Very, very nicely done. And
Thank you, Bonnie.
Very flattered you accepted the invitation. You have been at Voice America longer than I have. You're about 17 years. I'm 12 years and counting. So I appreciate your bringing all your expertise. Thank you, Kathryn. So much more to hear from you later. Jane Velez-Mitchell, you're up next on deck. I'm putting you on speaker view. Let's hear from you. Origin story, please. Go ahead, Jane.
Well, I was born and raised in New York City, Midtown Manhattan, right across from Carnegie Hall, as a matter of fact, and went to NYU. I was always a protester, even in high school. Nothing much has changed. So I was interviewed a few times. I decided to major in broadcast journalism. And then when I graduated, I started in Fort Myers, Florida, which was a great market. Wow. A beach town in the 70s. What could be better? Then I went to Minneapolis, almost froze to death, but great people. Then Philly, then back to my hometown, New York, where I worked at WCBS TV as a weekend anchor and reporter for 8 years. Then I'd had enough of the cold there and the terrible crime stories I was covering. So I got out to LA, this is where I am right now. The beach is right a stone's throw away, and I never take it for granted. And I worked at KCAL TV. Disney had owned that, started a whole new channel, basically reinvented it. And I worked there for 12 years. It was fantastic. Then I left that and worked at Celebrity Justice, which was a syndicated tabloid show, kind of a precursor to TMZ, run by the same folks. And then I ended up covering the Michael Jackson trial, which was, I guess you might call it my big break. I was on Larry King Live, and I was filling in being Nancy Grace's reporter for the whole trial, which was a life-changing experience. And after that show ended, I started filling in for Nancy when she was on vacation. And then all of a sudden, I got a call one morning. They said, would you like your own show on CNN Headline News? I said, sure. They said, we'll call it Issues with Jane Velez-Mitchell. I said, great, because I've got a lot of issues. And so I moved back to my hometown. CNN at the time was at Time Warner Center, Columbus Circle, which is literally a block and a half from where my mother lives. So I moved back in with Mom. And had that show for about 6 years. Now, over the course of that career, God willing, 29 years ago, let's say 28 and change, I got sober. I came out as gay, and I also became a vegan and became an animal rights activist. So when I got the show, I said, would you mind if I did a little animal segment once a week? And they thought about it. They said, we think that's okay. They probably thought I was going to do pet adoptions. Well, I did, but I also did really hardcore activism, showing people what really is going on behind closed doors at these massive factories that produce a total of 80 billion animals every year. I know we have to keep it upbeat, but more animals die in one day for food than all the humans killed in all the wars in the course of human history. So it's a very big problem, and it affects climate change, habitat destruction, wildlife extinction, human world hunger, preventable human lifestyle diseases, pandemics, everything. Everything in our society is affected by this one underlying issue that nobody wants to talk about, the really inconvenient truth. So to their credit, they never stopped me for 6 years. Every Friday, I did my animal rights segment, and we won quite a few awards. And that show wrapped up. It was a good run, about 6 years. At that point, I said, well, I've spent all these years, being given assignments. I want to be my own assignment editor. So I started basically what became UnchainedTV. So we've just entered our 10th year now as a nonprofit media outlet. And we cover stories that don't get covered anywhere else. And so I'm very grateful to Voice America Radio for allowing me the platform, because believe it or not, the subjects and the conversations we have cannot happen on advertiser-based mainstream media. They will not allow it. Okay. So the New York Times recently had a story that said an Oxford University study concluded that heavy meat eaters who switch to a plant-based diet can reduce their greenhouse gas emissions by 75%. If you think about that, that is a solution to climate change. If we all on the planet reduced our greenhouse gas emissions by 75%, guess what would happen? We would reverse climate change. Do you think one other news outlet picked that up? And it wasn't even prominently featured in the New York Times. It was a great article, but it was kind of buried, right under the chicken recipes. And so we, of course, are able to really have those crucial discussions. And, it reminds me of the show Don't Look Up. I don't know if you've seen that show. It was a great movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where they're trying to wake the world up that there's a meteor coming, which is a metaphor for climate change. And they go on this morning show and they're like, the meteor's coming. We've got to do something. And the host says, please, you're very strident. This is a lighthearted morning show. And they're like, but you don't understand. The meteor's coming. So it's the same thing. It's like this selective indignation. It's like, why are you so strident? Oh, why do you make me feel bad about my choices? It's like, if you go into somebody's house and it's on fire and you shake them and say, your house is on fire, do you expect them to say, you're so strident, chill out? All right. So that's where we are. I will talk to anybody about this issue, because every single person who has that light bulb moment go, boom, oh my God, I get it now. They have the capacity to be really part of the solution. So that's pretty much it. We now have a streaming network. The Samsung TV behind me has one of our new shows, which is called At Home with the Jenners, starring Brandon Jenner and his wife, Kaylee Jenner, who are plant-based. He is famous from Keeping Up with the Kardashians and various other shows. We were just featured in People magazine for a 6-page spread on the show. And so there's a lot of excitement. Now, when you say, well, wait, you said you can't talk about it, but you got a 6-page spread in People. Thank you, People. That was wonderful. But that's not about the issues. That was a great article, and we applaud that and are thrilled and excited about a famous couple who are cooking plant-based. So yes, we do by hook or by crook in any way we can to get this crucial information out there, because seriously, the survival of the human race, our planet will survive us, but the survival of the human race depends upon us understanding what this habit is doing to us.
Thank you, Jane. I have a question for you. Do you ever sleep?
I slept about 5 hours last night, but I usually wake up like,
okay,
what do I have to do next?
The brain is moving all the time. I can tell. Are you a coffee person? Are you allowed nicotine?
Yes.
Or okay?
I've given up so much. I've given up alcohol. I've given up smoking. I've given up. Obviously, I would not want to ever eat animals or their byproducts, but I haven't quite gotten to coffee yet. Sorry.
I had a feeling. That's no sorry at all. You're entitled. Thank you very much. Kirsten Johansen, we're so happy to have you here. You've been on Voice America a little over a year. We're delighted. I'm so thrilled you accepted the invitation. let's hear who you are. Go ahead and welcome.
Well, hello. Thank you for inviting me. And just as an aside, I gave up coffee about 6 or 7 days ago. So it's fresh.
Well, your microphone is making up for what you lack in nicotine. Go ahead with that gorgeous blue Yeti. Kirsten, go.
Okay. So about 2.5 years ago, I was about 50. I heard Kathryn talk about being 50. I left my healthcare job. I worked in corporate healthcare administration. I've been doing that a long time. And I left it. And I took a few months to figure out what I really wanted to do because I wasn't planning to leave. But I found myself having lost my sense of belonging there. It was actually the job I thought I would retire in. I had a path forward and a promotional path forward, and I loved it for so many years. And then I did some really deep work on my own self. And what I didn't expect to happen was that I would no longer belong at my job. But that is what happened. And so when I experienced that and I tested the waters a bit to see, oh my God, like, is this really what's happening? Yes, this is really what's happening. I left without a plan, without a new job. I could feel that I needed to go. I've been in leadership a long, long time and have seen many, many people exit, but they waited too long, sometimes a year or two too long. And I've watched them suffer and watched everyone around them suffer. And I cared so much about everything that I had done there and contributed and all the people that I worked with that I went quickly. So there I was, the first time ever in my life, because I just been working. I've been working for 30 years. And so I took a few months, and what emerged was that I wanted to write. I wanted to tell stories using my actual voice. I love to tell a story. And I wanted to use my experiences to help other people. I've had a sort of a strange life, as we all have, a challenging life, as we all have. And I tend to have the ability to use those challenges to connect with and help other people. So I knew that I wanted to do that as well. Now, I wasn't sure how all that was going to look or play out. And in the midst of it all, I realized a dream, which was to begin living part of my time internationally. And so I triggered all these contingencies all at one time. I changed my entire life, basically, from top to bottom, inside to outside. And so, a number of months later, there I am sitting in Malta, and I'm in Malta, and I'm developing a coaching business, and I'm writing, and I'm voice recording the writing and putting it on the website because I want to tell stories with my voice. And I figure, well, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And I don't know how it's all going to turn out. And I get a call from an executive producer at Voice America asking me, they found me, I think through my website potentially. And I'd done a little bit of other radio through my work before. And when I met with her, I realized that I could do all those things that I wanted to do. I could write, I could tell stories using my voice, and I could use my experiences to help other people. And I thought, what a dream. And so I said yes, and here I am.
Tell us the name of your show.
And I host GTO Freedom for Humans on Voice America Variety.
What does GTO stand for?
Giraffe, Tango, Octopus.
How did you come up with that? We all want to know. I can see Kathryn saying, what? That's a different kind of a Kathryn. And I'm saying, what? And Jane saying, seriously? Okay. What is that?
Well, what it is was in those months where I allowed myself to be completely myself with no judgment, no restrictions, no limitations. No, you have to make it look like this or be like that. I just let it all sort of bubble out of me. And what came out was I'm a tall, lanky person. And so I sort of move around the world like a friendly giraffe. And that's how people interact with me. Like if I'm in a foreign country and I look like I'm struggling, which sometimes I do, often people will come up to me and ask me if I need some help. So I think I sort of look like this sort of friendly giraffe-like person. And inside, I'm really a solitary octopus.
And where did the tango come from?
Well, I merged it together. I dropped the self-hating perfectionism. I dropped all the judgment. I dropped the pretense. I dropped the image. I dropped the idea that I had to look a certain way and be a certain way and do certain things and all that stuff. And so that was my way of expressing that if you just take your whole self and all of its crazy parts and put it together, because a tango requires, heart to heart,
Yes.
moving together in
Yes.
unison in a synchronized way. So really it was my way of expressing sort of each of our unique beings
And
without any
in
limitation.
two sentences, what do you talk about on your show?
I talk about silencing the inner critic and accepting oneself unconditionally, no matter what.
Thank you. What a potpourri of topics we have here. Very interesting. I don't put people together on these shows, on my creativity show with this, who are matched. I think I said that earlier. I like to hear the different stories, the different perspectives, and how you all came together. My story, just very briefly, is I was working for a big software company, business software, and I had the idea to start a thought leadership roundtable business conversation show. I called Voice America. Kathryn, you'll appreciate this. I called Jeff Spinard, the late great gentleman who left us too soon, too tragically, a couple of years ago. I picked up the phone and called him, and I said, "Hi, Jeff. My name is Bonnie. I work at SAP." And he said, "I don't know you, but I know the company. Keep talking." And I said, "Would you help me put together a business roundtable talk show?" And he said, "Keep talking." And we cooked something up, and I went back to my manager and said, "I want to start a radio show." And she said, "What?" I was the only one out of about 100,000 people in the company who were doing this. One show turned into 48 different series over 11 years. People kept coming and saying, "We want to do another show." In the Cloud with Game Changers, Coffee Break with Game Changers, the future of manufacturing, the future of utilities, the future of HR, women in technology, and it just kept blowing. But so my story is different from some of yours because I called Voice America, and the miracle, and you know this, Kathryn, is that Jeff picked up the phone that day. A very busy man. So that's how I came to Voice America. I went to them and said, "I want to be part of this." And here we are. So I'm beyond thrilled to have the three of you. I appreciate who you are. I love now people use the word authenticity. I gave that up, Jane. I gave up meat about 40 years ago, just so you know. So I'm not contributing to greenhouse. Yes, I know. So, but the point is that I don't say authentic. I say real deal. Kathryn Zox, you're the real deal. Hyphenated. Jane Velez-Mitchell, you're definitely the real deal. And Kirsten Johansen, how dare you say you've been doing something for 30 years? Does everybody think she's about 22, 29? How could you possibly? Anyway, I don't want to get into compliments here. It's not fair. I think you're all wonderful. So now let's go to the part of the show where I've asked you to send me a quote from a fictional character in a movie or TV show or a song lyric that does not have the word radio in it. And you're going to tell me what it has to do with what you do. And let's keep this to about 3 minutes apiece. So Kathryn Zox has sent oh my goodness. She sent a quote from a song called End of the Line, 1988 by the Traveling Wilburys, British American supergroup from 1988 to 1991. Let me read you who was in the group. Bob Dylan. If that wasn't enough, George Harrison and Jeff Lynne and Roy Orbison and Tom Petty. It's a roots rock band described as perhaps the biggest supergroup of all time. And they dedicated this song to Roy Orbison after he passed away in 1988. Fascinating bio. And they all have pseudonyms and fake names. And it was really, really cool. Here's the line Kathryn picked. "Well, it's all right, even if you're old and gray. Well, it's all right. You've still got something to say." Oh, Kathryn, tell us, what does this have to do with your show? Go ahead.
Well, I think I'm the oldest one on this show. Let's put it that way. And one of the things I'm going to you said I could continue a little bit with the first part of the show.
Yep.
I think one of the things about radio, I have been so passionate about it, what kind of ties into all of this is that you really aren't seen. You can be old and gray. And I had to do this show and now I'm on video, and I don't usually do video because anytime I've had to do anything on stage, I've got the makeup and you've got the hair person, and I couldn't even get my hair cut and colored today. And I was like, oh my God, like I have to be on the show. I'd rather just I like it when no one can see me, but they can hear me. But anyway,
you're perfect. You're perfect. You're perfect. Right,
Kirsten?
Okay? Well, Kirsten, she's perfect. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
well,
We've just voted you perfect. Go ahead.
Thank
Kathryn.
you. Thank you. But first of all, Bob Dylan, I love him, and I always have, and he's one of my favorites. But anyway, so the Traveling Wilburys, that particular ageism, I think is one of the topics, and I was going to read this to you because ageism is actually one of the most. I'm going to read this. This is from the American Psychological Association. Is one of the last socially acceptable prejudices. And psychologists and social workers and people in the field are working to change that. And actually, I think I've been reading that that's actually one of the trends in terms of podcasting, mental health and discrimination and ages, people discriminating against age as you get older, and the population is living much longer. And what do you do with old people? And how do you connect them? And I think that even I experience it very often. I mean, people will say things to me that my girlfriend, I'm like trying to change restaurants, one restaurant at a time. Every time I go into a restaurant, I went into a Starbucks in the grocery store, and the young girl, she wasn't that young, she's probably 30 years old, and she says to me, what would you like? Or something like that. What do you want, young lady? And I thought, I'm not a young lady. That's kind of really, it's disparaging. I'm an older lady, and I have a lot to offer and a lot to say. And I say a lot, and I say it every day. Anyway, I said, well, I'm not a young lady. And she said, oh yeah, you're as young as you feel. And I said, not really. I said, and I didn't want to get into it with her too much, but I thought, this is really not the way to talk to me. It's really not. Anyway, so I went and reported her to the manager or whatever. And my girlfriend said, how could you do that? I said, I don't want her to lose her job, but I think you have to train people so that they are respectful to people to all ages, not just old people or to older people. That's just one example. It happens all the time until they hear my voice, until they hear what I have to say. But I've noticed that over the past, let's say, 5 years. And so, and I'm thinking, this is what I want to focus on probably on my show, because my show, I talk about all kinds of topics, and it's kind of selfish because I just want to hear what everybody has to say, and I want to engage on all of those different kinds of topics. It's not really focused. And so I thought, this is something I'm kind of looking towards the future in terms of how I want to the mission of my show, and maybe, I don't know, add an additional show. I'm not sure, but I think ageism is definitely one of the topics I want to address. And I know and what I've done is, my experience is, and I wrote this on my bio when you asked for bios, Bonnie, is that I connect with younger people all the time. I'm very involved at the University at Albany. I started the social workers radio talk show at the University at Albany and helped train social workers, students, to talk on the radio and to be able, because social workers traditionally have not done that. Psychologists have, coaches have, like Kirsten, but not social workers. They've kind of always been in the background. And so teaching social workers how to present their message in terms of what they do, or reaching audiences, being able to be on the radio, being able to connect with people. The public is the client. Mm-hmm. And that was sort of our, I guess, mantra for the social workers radio talk show. So teaching these students that the public is, and that they can talk, they can get out there, they have a lot to say, but they do have to be trained. And so we started, not only did I start the radio talk show, but also classes, so that that would be part of the classroom experience for social workers at the university. And that's ongoing. And I think it was actually one of the first radio talk show, the podcasts for social workers. I think maybe there was one other, but this was the second one. And this was 10 years ago.
That's a great contribution, Kathryn.
Yeah,
and I'm sure they appreciate it, and giving a voice.
Giving a voice, yeah.
Isn't that what we do? We're giving a voice.
Giving a voice, exactly.
Our opinions, our POV, and our guests as well. Thank you very much. And by the way, when somebody says, hello, young lady, or would you like this? I usually get that from a man. So
yes, it's always from a man.
Always from a man.
Always from a man.
Just wanted to add that. Thank you. Let me move on to Jane Velez-Mitchell. Your quote, I want to sing this the worst way, but I'm not going to. This song is from The Big Yellow Taxi by Joni Mitchell. What a classic, Jane. 1970 on the album Ladies of the Canyon. It's written, composed, and originally recorded by Joni Mitchell. Number 14 in her native Canada, number 6 in Australia, 11 in the UK. It only made number 67 in the US in 1970, but was a bigger hit later on. She wrote this following in a 1996 interview. Joni Mitchell said, I wrote Big Yellow Taxi on my first trip to Hawaii. I took a taxi to the hotel, and when I woke up the next morning, I threw back the curtains and saw these big, beautiful green mountains in the distance. Then I looked down, and there was a parking lot as far as the eye could see, and it broke my heart. This blight on paradise. That's when I sat down and wrote the song. So here you go. And the line is, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Jane, 3 minutes. Go. Tell me what this has to do with what you do.
Well, Unchained TV, which is our global streaming network. By the way, it's 100% free. I do not take a salary. I actually also donate to keep it going. And we rely on monthly donors and other donors. And anybody can download it. You can download it right on your phone, completely free. Just go to the App Store and put in Unchained TV, one word. You can download it on a Samsung Smart TV, or if you have an Apple TV device, a Roku device, or an Amazon Fire Stick, you can put Unchained TV in and it pops right up. And what we cover is the fact that we are giving planet Earth a buzz cut. And the primary reason is not to create cities, is not to create parking lots, but it's to clear land to grow crops to feed the 80 billion animals we raise and kill for food every year, and also to provide grazing land for them. We know that the Amazon rainforest is being destroyed, and they say logging. Logging is actually a byproduct. The primary reason is to create agricultural land and grazing land for cattle. So we are paving paradise across the board around planet Earth. And the thing is that trees absorb carbon. They use photosynthesis to grow. And so that's one of the main ways that Mother Nature combats climate change, by absorbing the trees, absorbing all the carbon, while we have erased all those trees. So one of the benefits of going vegan is that if we all went vegan, if we all cut out meat and dairy, which is liquid meat, we would be able to reforest a great percentage of arable land on this planet. And those trees would be able to absorb carbon, and we would immediately begin to reverse climate change. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why don't we hear about this? All we hear about is fossil fuels. The United Nations, way back in 2006, did a report that's on the internet called Livestock's Long Shadow that laid out that animal agriculture is responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions than all transportation combined. It's right there on the internet, but they don't talk about it. Why? Look at the advertisers, fast food and pharmaceuticals. And the pharmaceutical industry and the fast food industry are like that, because people wouldn't eat all those pills if they were eating a healthy diet filled with fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains. You don't see commercials for apples or carrots or broccoli on television. And so there's not really a reason to cater to those industries. They're catering to the fast food industry, which is primarily meat and dairy. So that's why we say you're paving paradise and putting up a parking lot, but it's really worse than that. You're paving paradise and barreling toward a climate apocalypse. And we're just in the appetizer phase. We've already seen the extreme cold. I live right here at the beach, and I've lived here for 32 years. It's only in the last couple of years I've started worrying about rising sea levels. And you're going to see a large swaths of coastal areas around the United States and the world become less and less habitable. It's already happening in certain Caribbean nations and the Keys, and even here, just a couple of weeks ago in a couple of counties up, there were houses swept away by the waves. So Mother Nature is sending us a message, and there is some easy thing that we can all do, and it's like, it's so easy. You talked about Starbucks. Just 2 days ago, I was at a Starbucks protest. Starbucks has become arguably one of the top purveyors of dairy, because kids aren't drinking milk the way they did with Leave It to Beaver. And yet they charge extra for plant-based milks, even though According to the National Institutes of Health, 67% of the population experiences lactose malabsorption, which basically means most people are allergic to dairy, particularly people of color and the global majority. So they claim to be sustainable. They also claim to be inclusive, and yet they're punishing people who want to choose milk that doesn't make them sick. Wow.
Wow is right. I'm a big milk drinker, Jane. Got it from my father.
Go to that soy milk or oat milk or rice milk or hemp milk or
I will.
There's so many others.
Thank you. Kirsten Johansen, Waiting in the Wings. Your quote is from a song. We got 3 songs today. This is unusual. Usually I get some movie and TV quotes. This is from the song Burning of the Midnight Lamp, 1967, recorded by the English-American rock trio, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. It was written by frontman Jimi Hendrix, we all remember him, and produced by band manager Chaz Chandler, featuring R&B group Sweet Inspirations on the backing vocals. Hendrix commentator Harry Shapiro and Caesar Glebick described Burning of the Midnight Lamp as introspective and melancholy, and they quoted Jimi Hendrix. There are some very personal things in there, but I think everyone can understand the feeling when you're traveling, that no matter what your address, there is no place you can call home. The feeling of a man in a little old house in the middle of a desert where he is burning the midnight lamp. You don't mean for things to be personal all the time, but it is. And here's the line, 5 little words Kirsten picked from the lyrics of the song. Loneliness is such a drag. Kirsten, what does this have to do with your radio work? Go ahead.
Well, loneliness is a drag. And, one of the things that I am observing and have been through myself is as the world continues to turn and technology continues in the direction that it is and the effects that we've all experienced from the pandemic, there seems to be a tremendous amount of loneliness and separation and distance and difficulty connecting. And so one of the things that keeps connection from happening is the way one feels about themselves. So if I don't feel good about myself, if I'm judging myself and I'm fearful, then I'm not good enough to be accepted over there, then why would I go over there and talk to those people and connect with those people and see if maybe, there's a future there for me to build some relationships. The art of building an in-person relationship or even, through technology, right? Relationships with people is starting to, in a way, slip away from us, I believe, because there is so much asynchronous availability, kind of in self-service availability, which is great in many ways, right? It allows us to progress in some other ways, but the human connection piece, I feel begins to suffer. And so I really wanted to create a show where we could tell stories that highlighted that you can, from the inside, build a relationship with yourself and get at the heart of where the loneliness starts. It isn't exactly about surrounding yourself with other people. Of course, we need to be connected with other humans. We really, really do, for a million different reasons. But by working on ourselves first and basically being cool with ourselves and realizing there is absolutely nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with us ever, no matter what. It allows us to really get out there in the world and make our unique contribution and connect so that we don't have to be lonely, because we don't have to be lonely.
Thank you. The Blue Yeti has spoken. I appreciate that. You're very polished, isn't she, Kathryn and Jane? You're very polished and poised, Kirsten, for a relative newcomer to radio. I'm very impressed. You have a way of phrasing and of presenting yourself and your ideas with a lot of confidence. So I can tell you've done the work that you're talking about to be that person. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So ladies, we have to keep the next segment to 2 minutes apiece. And you're going to see me doing this in the background. So I'm not cutting you off, but we got to keep it real tight. I'm going to pick one discussion statement from each of you, and I want to know what it means to you, to your show, to anything. Kathryn Zox, I'm picking your statement number 4. I will read it. You do not need to find it. You say radio's future. We're talking about radio today. Radio's future as a communications venue. It's about connection, immediacy, and the host's personality. I was very happy to see that in there. Kathryn, tell us. 2 minutes, go.
Oh, you listen. I mean, I don't know how many podcasts are there. I looked it up before I got on the air, but now I can't find how many. I mean, there are millions, right? And there are a lot of people doing podcasting, and they have a lot to say, and they might have a good agenda, but they don't have the personality. I think the personality, so that people will listen to you. Your information might be great, but not necessarily, you may not necessarily be the person who should be a podcaster. Because I'm always listening to other people because I sort of want to, I find that interesting. I mean, it helps me to grow. You're laughing at me.
I'm laughing with you. I'm laughing
Are you
with you.
laughing
I'm not
with
laughing
me?
at you.
But it's true.
Yeah, I know.
So it's really important to have, the information. And if you're interviewing people, it's important to have the experts and the guests or the people who want to tell their stories, and you help them to tell their stories in the best way that they can tell their story. But you kind of have to have the personality to do that as well. And
Yes.
there are, so I guess that's one of the reasons. But anyway, the future, you're talking about the future of podcasting, the
Yes.
future of radio. I like to listen. I am not one necessarily to watch videos, and I'm thinking I like to listen to people. I listen to Audible all the time. I've gotten into digital books and stuff, and I'd rather listen to the person. I really don't want to see them. I want to hear them, and then I focus.
Sorry,
on
Kathryn.
what
I said, sorry, we're on Zoom.
I'm telling, yeah, but I do want to hear them. I do want to hear what they have to say, and it's the same with it's the same with podcasting. I shouldn't say that, but the voice and how it's said and the presentation, and so I think that the Audible, the radio, podcasting. I think it's here to stay. I think it's
I think you're right.
going in different directions. I mean, do I have enough time left, or am I over?
30 seconds,
Okay.
and I got to go to Jane. Go ahead.
Okay, because we're doing, also, I think one of the trends that I've read about is this kind of edutainment. It's education, but it's entertainment.
Yep.
And that's kind of very different than just doing an educational show or just an entertainment show, putting the two together. I like that.
Thank you. Very well done. I'm glad you brought up personality. It's something we don't talk about much, but we all think it, don't we?
All right, good. Well, I said it.
Damn, do I have to listen to that? The reason I went to Zoom on my shows was I do a special on my Technology Revolution show every year, and I was having 15 people in 1 hour giving 3 minutes of predictions. Can you imagine doing that on the phone? So my engineer, they signed up in 14-minute blocks, 4 people per 14 minutes and 3 in the last one. So my engineer was okay. He would say, Kirsten and Jane and Kathryn and Bob are here. Okay, and I'd start the show and I'd say, okay, Kirsten, you got 2 minutes. Okay, Jane, we do it. And then I say, bye everybody. And we kick them off the phone lines and we bring in the next 4. He'd say, Mary isn't here yet. Oh, shit. All right, I'll keep somebody else. I did 15 people in an hour, and I had to tell from listening, Kathryn, when they were at the end of a sentence or a semicolon. I've done this. And then when Zoom came, I said, hallelujah, we're going to see my guests talk and think. And then live streaming came, and I said, well, let me share my beautiful guests with the world. Thank you. Let me move on. Jane, I'm picking a little bit from your statement number 4, 2 minutes. Keep it tight. You say, I also try to make my shows opinionated. I ask questions of the guest, but I often frequently and repeatedly interject my own opinion and offer suggestions about whatever the issue or societal problem we're discussing. 2 minutes, Jane, go.
Well, we have controversial topics that we talk about, and if you're just doing straight Q&A, you're basically a passive, you could be AI or you could be a list of questions. So just as Kathryn said, it's really about personality. And if you look at the top TV shows, it's all about the personality of the host. And sometimes you love to hate them too. Like there's people you love to love, but there's also people you love to hate. I may have been one of those people. So I, first of all, can't help but interject my opinions. It's perhaps in the hard drive. I can't iron it out. But I think it also makes for a more interesting show. We were just doing a show the other day where we were talking about Adidas being pretty much one of the few holdouts now that's still killing kangaroos to sell shoes. And Nike has stopped, Puma has stopped, New Balance is stopping, and there's all sorts of in-store demonstrations. And we had a member of parliament from Australia on. There is something called the Animal Justice Party now in Australia, and she was talking about the campaign, but she's a very sophisticated, business-like woman. And we had various people on. And finally I said, look, yeah, in-store demos are great, but I think that it's really when it's unfortunate, but it's almost like a mathematical equation to get companies to act. You cannot appeal to conscience. It just does not work. So you have to get more and more aggressive with your protests, nonviolent. The violence is being committed against the kangaroos. We are being confrontational. Thank you.
Thank you. And you know what? I agree with you about bringing your own opinion on your show. And I'm going to just hark back to Leslie Gore's song, It's My Party and I'll Cry If I Want to. Well, it's my radio show and damn it, I'll talk if I want to. I think I echo what the three of you were thinking. Thank you, Jane. Great point. And let's go to a statement from Kirsten, number 1. And I still have a couple things to do. So as soon as you're done, we're going to dive into something else. Live radio is a collective communal experience with an energetic flow that feels different from listening to something recorded. I love this, Kirsten. 2 minutes, go.
Well, I was a Stern fan back in the day, and I had a long commute, and I looked forward to it. It felt like I built a relationship. I think we all know what it feels like to listen to somebody on the radio and feel like you know them and look forward to them. And 2 of the crew, I tried to look it up before we came on so I could remember who was boxing, but he was putting on a big boxing match between 2 of the guys. And I mean, I had been in the car listening to this for the whole run up to this boxing match. I could not have been more invested. And so I'm almost to work, but they got a late start and I could not. I had to pull over into the parking lot and be present for this big event on the Stern Show. And I mean, I was yelling, I was going out of my mind in the car. So that's really what that's really what I'm talking about. That you don't get that from a recording. That's special.
Yep. I like live. I think we all do. There are risks. I think we all know that, but I think they're worth the risk. Ladies, I want to do a couple of celebrity birthdays and some things, some other things, music events. Debbie Allen, 74, dancer, choreographer, actress known for fame. What can I say? Everybody say happy birthday, Debbie Allen. Today, Sade, he's a smooth operator. I try not to sing. Sorry. She's 65. Can you believe Sade is 65? Kate Moss, fashion model. She's 50. That's our magic number tonight, Kathryn. Lin-Manuel Miranda, singer, composer, rapper. He created In the Heights in Hamilton. He's 44. He's almost a grown-up human being now. I have 2 YouTube stars. I think you'll be shocked. We have a young lady named Ruby Rube, R-U-B-E. She's 18. She's a British comedy vlogger. She has a video series at 3 a.m. it's called. She only has 3.3 million subscribers on YouTube. I just wanted you to know, and she's 18. Things are changing, right? And we have a young man on TikTok who's 20. His name is Fred DeGrasse. 20. He has 2.1 million followers. He creates short form comedy. He has you're going to love this, Kathryn, he has a relatable personality. That's why people like him. Dance videos and lip sync videos with others. Today in history, 1957, Little Richard recorded Lucille. Okay, I said I wouldn't sing. 1988, this day in history, Tina Turner performed at Estadio da Maracana in Rio de Janeiro to a sellout crowd of 180,000 people. She set a new record for attendance at a performance by a solo artist. And in 2002, a